Good morning, everyone. This is Ms. Pintock. We decided that since you do not have class on Wednesday, October 18th, that we would just do a quick and brief intro to Central America, since that's where you will be starting today, the 17th. So here's the calendar for this week. Of course, you had the Unit 2 test yesterday. All Unit 2 work was due yesterday, so anything turned in after 11:59 last night will be subject to a 20% deduction. You need to start on Central America this week, but you have nothing else due. But don't sit on your laurels. There will be a lot coming up. While 3.1 and 3.2 are pretty small, 3.3 and 3.4 in particular are quite large, and you'll have several assignments due for those. So just to preview next week, next Monday, we have the 3.02 quiz, and then Wednesday, we will do the 3.03 quiz in class. So if you watch this, kind of bookmark to yourself not to do it in advance, because we will actually go through the answers and make sure you all understand all of the answers as we do it. So you should not need to worry about that. However, looking ahead on the calendar the following week, the week of Halloween, you will have several things due. So make sure that you're staying on top of stuff so that you have plenty of time to work on it. Upcoming Class Connects and some dates. So today, this CC, or rather it's not a CC, I'm just recording a PowerPoint for you briefly. This is where we'll introduce Unit 3. Next week, we will take the 3.03 quiz together. The following Wednesday, we will discuss how to grade discussion boards and things like that, as well as go over a lot of the information in this unit on Central America. And then the following week, we are all ready to review for Unit 3. The Unit 3 deadline is Friday, November 10th. That is also the day of your Unit 3 test, so make sure that you are keeping an eye on that date. It is a Friday, so you won't have Saturday, Sunday, Monday to finish stuff up. Central America. When we talk about Central America, we are talking about a pretty limited area, right? So we just finished North America, which talked about Canada, the United States, and Mexico. And we capped it at that. And now we're doing Central America in sort of a separate piece. So in Unit 3, you have these are the things that you will have graded. So you have several quizzes. You'll have a web quest, that's for 3.04, a discussion for 3.04, another quiz for 3.04. There's a lot for 3.04. You will also have a final project. That won't be due until the week of November 6th. So it's a ways away, and Mrs. Glebke and I might make a few changes to that, so don't work too far ahead. But feel free to get going on things. So when we talk about Central America, we are talking about 7 countries in particular: Belize, Costa Rica, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Panama. You can kind of see here on this map, there's a lot of different little islands and other stuff added. Most of these little islands belong to other countries. You can see that some of them say behind them that they belong to Colombia, but most of them will belong to the country that they're nearest. So all those little countries up by Belize belong to Belize. And we're also going to include the Caribbean in this unit. And unfortunately, because there are so many islands in the Caribbean, there's just too many to adequately talk about. So we're going to focus on the largest 5, which are Cuba, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, and then we'll also talk about Puerto Rico, which is a United States territory. If you'll remember, we talked a little bit about that when we talked about current events a couple of weeks ago. Puerto Rico is a territory of the United States, just like the United States Virgin Islands. All right, so just a little background. The countries of Central America would be referred to as developing nations, just because they haven't industrialized very much yet. They don't have quite the social programs. What we mean by social programs is things that the government kind of puts on to support people, and there isn't as great of a free market economy in these countries. A developed country, just in contrast, is one that has had enough freedom to create a highly diversified economy. So it's not just industrial, it's not just agrarian or agricultural. It really it runs the gamut. And it also operates independently from the governance and political establishment of the country, which is one way that some of these countries have kind of been held back, is by their country's policies. All the countries in Central America and the Caribbean continue to rely on agriculture as their primary source of income. So it's that lack of industrialization, that agriculture, that is their primary source of income, and why they would be considered developing nations, with the exception of Haiti. Haiti is considered a least developed nation because it is excessively impoverished. There have been numerous human rights violations, and there's a serious lack of infrastructure development. And we saw a lot of that several years ago. You guys would have been in even elementary school or junior high, but there was a massive earthquake in Haiti, and it just decimated the entire country. They had, most people were living in, kind of makeshift shacks, and they all just tumbled to the ground. And with that lack of infrastructure, there's not running water, there's not indoor toilets, roads aren't paved, things like that. They really are, as you might have heard, like a third world country. It's very, very underdeveloped. And so they needed a lot of help after that earthquake to put things back together, even to the state that they were in before. So one thing that 3.01 encourages you to do is to look at travel precautions. So you can go to this link, and this is linked in the lesson as well, and take a look at some of the countries and islands in this region, and just take a look at what precautions you might need to take, what extra shots you might need if you're traveling to those areas. This website also has a list of outbreaks. So things like malaria, yellow fever, dengue fever, chikungunya. I even saw, when I was peeking at it yesterday, and this is not in the region, but in Madagascar, apparently there's an outbreak of the plague currently that's brand new. So take a look at that. It kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at here. The picture below is a picture of a woman lying in bed, but she has a net around her. And the reason is, in this region, a lot of the illnesses that are spread by mosquitoes. And so having netting over your bed and around where you sleep is really important, because you can't really swat away a mosquito while you sleep, right? And a mosquito will carry things like dengue fever, yellow fever, malaria, and those mosquito-borne diseases can be a real problem in this region. There is a lot of poverty in this region, and that will be the focus of the big project in this unit. A total of 43.2 million people live in Central America, and half of them are considered poor. The lowest levels of social development are in El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua. As we've previously learned, poverty is an important global issue, and simply because you don't see poverty in your backyard doesn't mean that it doesn't affect you, and it doesn't mean that even poverty in this region in Central America doesn't affect you. And we'll go more into how poverty in this region affects us here in the United States. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful 4-day weekend. Get a little bit of rest. Make sure that you are getting ahead a little bit. And we will look forward to seeing you on Wednesday, October 25th. Have a good one.